Welcome back in, everybody, to Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith joined alongside of Collyn Taylor. Collyn, I cannot tell you how happy I am to be talking with you right now. I feel like I've been gone for 17,000 years. I talked to Wes a couple weeks ago, but to be back here talking baseball with you, it's awesome. We're getting ready for South Carolina to host a regional tournament this weekend. Big weekend of baseball coming up in Columbia. I know you're excited, Collyn. Baseball's your favorite sport, so lots of baseball in store for you, right?
Yes, too much baseball at times, it feels like, but yes, it is. Fans have been clamoring for postseason baseball back at Founders Park. True postseason baseball back at Founders Park, not just 2021 they hosted, but they were the 2 seed. It wasn't the same. This is like you are a top 16 seed. You are, one of the best 20 teams in the country. Now you get to play at home at night at Founders Park. I can't wait. This is what fans have been clamoring for. My life gets a little bit easier being at home. So very excited for what should be, if you're South Carolina, you're hoping for a very long weekend at Founders Park.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think you and I, at this point, we've been to so many baseball games this year. We've spent more time at the baseball field than we actually have our homes, but that's okay. You can't complain, especially if you're a South Carolina fan. Like you said, Gamecocks super excited about this weekend. Very excited to host. It was something that was on the fence there at the end when the decisions were being made, and then the NCAA finally announced that South Carolina would host. A lot of fans holding their breath to see if South Carolina would be able to do it, and they got their slate just a couple of days ago. So in the tournament, it's going to be South Carolina, the number 1 seed, and then number 2, we've got the Campbell Fighting Camels. We got to get into them in just a little bit. Number 3, the North Carolina State Wolfpack, and then Central Connecticut State, the number 4 seed. South Carolina will face Central Connecticut State on Friday, 7 p.m. Founders Park. Collyn, when you first got word as to who was going to be in this regional tournament for South Carolina, what were your initial reactions?
It ain't easy, but it's winnable. I think if you're South Carolina, you go in thinking it's not like Campbell's really good and NC State's really good. Both of these teams, Campbell, I think should have been hosting. Just based on the metrics, based on everything, I think they should have been hosting. You can make the argument. But it's not like, at least in the watch party, fans saw Tennessee go up in the Clemson Regional and went, whoa. You didn't hear that in Columbia. There wasn't like a whoa team. Now Campbell's really good, and I think has a really, the Fighting Camels have a fighting chance to win this regional. NC State is very talented, probably better than what their record indicates, especially in the ACC. But it's winnable if you're South Carolina. You kind of potentially catching a break with the Central Connecticut State head coach telling 107.5 Wednesday that they more than likely would not start their ace pitcher of the year. So South Carolina's getting the number 2 starter for the Blue Devils. And then it comes down to you facing Campbell or NC State's number 2 pitcher for a chance to, if you beat Central Connecticut State, for a chance to go 2-0 in a regional and set yourself up really well heading into Sunday and potentially Monday. So the pitching sets up hopefully well for South Carolina. And now it's just about getting the offense going. And if the offense gets going, this is a South Carolina team that has proven it's a top 10 team in the country, a top 5 team in the country. And if they can recapture some of that, it's a very winnable region for South Carolina.
So let's talk about Campbell, because I think this is a very interesting story. Like you said, certainly a team that could be hosting a regional. They don't have the biggest facility up in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. I've been there myself. My brother played Big South baseball at Winthrop, so experienced the entire Campbell experience. And, they've been a team over these past few years that's been really, really good. Last year, we saw Campbell kind of give Tennessee a little bit of a reality check, if you will. I mean, they didn't win that game, but Campbell was in it there for a little while back in postseason play in 2022. And you hear Campbell, you hear the Big South, you hear it's a small school, and maybe people will overlook that when they look at this slate. But Collyn, what are your thoughts on the Campbell Fighting Camels, and how dangerous do you think they could be during this regional tournament?
Legitimately talented, like we've said, they could have been hosting. They're a legitimate contender here. Cade Kuehler is, I think that I'm saying his name correctly.
Got it.
First round talent, a first round talent on the mound. And if you're South Carolina, one of the benefits to being the number one overall seed is now Campbell has to be the 2 and likely burn Cade Friday night or Friday afternoon against NC State. So legitimate Friday night arm in Kuehler. Some pitchability out of the bullpen, up and down pitching staff outside of their ace, but an offense that's just, goodness gracious, this offense. Hitting over 300 as a team, I want to say a 365 batting average on balls in play. They've hit well over 100 home runs. I think they have 9 players with at least 100 at-bats on their team. 8 of them have an on-base percentage over 400, and I want to say all 9 are slugging over 500. So legitimate pop in the bat, legitimate power, legitimate length to this lineup. And it makes me excited if we do get Campbell, South Carolina at some point in a regional, what that could look like, especially if things hold chalk and you get a 1 versus 2 in a winner's bracket. That's going to be, that atmosphere Saturday night at Founders Park has a chance to be electric.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what could happen this weekend at Founders Park. Certainly a lot to look forward to. Not just Campbell, though. NC State, very, very good team. And then, even Central Connecticut State, to make postseason play in Division I baseball is not an easy thing to do. So anything can happen in the sport of baseball. You know that just as well as I do. Every single day is completely different. And South Carolina knows that very well because they have had quite a season full of ups and downs. They've had high highs, they've had some low lows, but they're hoping that the low lows are behind them, right? You get all that out of the way before you get into postseason play. So Collyn, this weekend, what are you looking for in particular with South Carolina that you think will boost them to ultimately moving on to a super regional?
Yeah, it's the offense. When you look at that pitching staff, and you take recent trends with James Hicks, with Eli Jones, with Jack Mahoney, with Matthew Becker, with Will Sanders coming out of the bullpen, you have the pitching, especially if you stay in a winner's bracket. If you win those first 2 games and you go into Sunday 2-0, you feel pretty good about how your pitching sets up. That's the good news for South Carolina. And the question then becomes, can you hit? I mean, bottom line, point blank, can the offense get right? And South Carolina is very confident that it can. They think that this 8-day stretch that they had off between the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament gives them a chance to kind of reset, recuperate, rejuvenate. That's the word Ethan Petrie used, and get back to those short, compact, quick swings that they had at the beginning of the year versus the longer, loopier swings, late. So I think South Carolina over their last 10 is hitting 197 as a team, getting on base at a either right under or right above 300 clip. They're not hitting for a ton of power, but if you're South Carolina, you hope that you can figure some things out. And if you hit the ball like you were through the first 40 games, you get a chance to win that regional. But that's the big key for South Carolina is being able to mash like they had been through the first 2 months of the season.
Baseball is a team sport, but Collyn, I need to know your standout player for this weekend. Who do you think is going to be that guy that fans need to be looking for, that needs to step up and get South Carolina where they need to be?
I'm going to go, I'll give you a pitcher and then I'll give you a hitter. Is that fair? Am I allowed to do that?
We'll accept. It's allowed.
Am I allowed to do that? There you go. On the pitching side of things, I'm going to say Jack Mahoney. Point blank, my gut is telling me that they're going to save him. The way it's sounding right now is that they're going to save him for Saturday, whatever that looks like, whether that's against NC State or Campbell in a winner/losers bracket game. That means Jack Mahoney is either going to be pitching to try to stave off elimination, or if things go the way a lot of people project them to, will be pitching to get South Carolina to a regional final. So there's going to be a lot on his shoulders. He wants the ball. I think he's probably your most important pitcher. I mean, you talk about his last 2 regular season starts, 13 innings, 1 earned run, 17 strikeouts or something crazy like that. I mean, it's been insane how good he's been of late. And on the hitting side of things, I'm going to go Braylon Wimmer. It's easy to say Cole Messina. It's easy to say Ethan Petrie, but Wimmer, when he's on, this offense goes to another level, and getting him back in the field should help him, getting him in a position to where he's able to do things at short, settle things down from a leadership perspective. I think if he has a big series or regional, South Carolina not only has a good offensive weekend, but probably comes away feeling really good about their chances to win the entire thing.
I have a feeling that Founders Park is going to be maybe the best atmosphere of any of these regionals throughout the entire weekend. These fans are just craving postseason baseball in Columbia. They are finally getting it. It's South Carolina, Campbell, NC State, and Central Connecticut State regional happening this weekend in Columbia, South Carolina. Collyn Taylor will be there. He'll be giving you all of the coverage on GamecockCentral.com. You can also follow him on Twitter. It's at Collyn Taylor, right?
Yeah, nothing special. There ain't nothing special.
Collyn Taylor. Yeah. He's got a little unique spelling.
A little funk to it.
Yeah, a little spunky spelling. We love it. So be sure to follow him. I wish I could be there so much. I will be actually at baseball games, but in Charlotte with the Charlotte Knights. So if you come up here, see me, you know I'm going to be following you like this the whole time when I'm at the
you're going to be like
little best of both worlds going on.
Ooh, but over under 10.5 text messages Kendall sends me.
Over 100%.
You'd be like,
bad, or if it's going good, it doesn't matter. I will text you like, oh, it's so good. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is obvious, but I'm not one to like shy away from saying how I feel about things. So Collyn will know how I feel about these games. Also, a little fun fact, if you want to know more about Campbell, and this is kind of a shameless plug, I worked for NCAA.com this past spring, did a whole entire month's work of worth reporting on Campbell and the Campbell baseball program. Talked to Cade Keeler, their ace, Justin Hare, their coach. So check that out. Lots and lots on them. Obviously, you know, South Carolina fans watching this, but do your research and know what's happening going into this weekend. So be sure to check that out. And again, check out GamecockCentral.com. Follow us on all of our social media at Gamecock Central. We will keep you posted on everything you need to know. It's exciting stuff happening in Columbia, South Carolina. I miss it. I wish I was there, but you guys are holding down the fort, doing an awesome job. We appreciate all of you tuning in. Collyn, try to get some rest, please.
Do my best.
We appreciate you. As always, appreciate all of you too. He's Collyn Taylor. I'm Kendall Smith, and we will see you guys next time on Gamecock Central.